What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Fightful.com podcast, September 28th edition, technically the first of two. Technically this would be considered the September 27th edition. Unfortunately, some family issues prevented me from doing the show last night. Fair warning for those of you who generally abide by our schedule. It may affect some things through this weekend, mainly the weekend show. When myself and Showdown Joe may do that, it looks like the Vince Russo and Matt Riddle shows should happen as scheduled. But this weekend's UFC show, and I'll also be talking Ring of Honor and hopefully Bound for Glory, maybe at some point. I don't know what time that one will be yet. I'll keep you guys updated on Twitter at Fightful Online or at Sean Ross Sapp on Twitter, and of course on the website, on the forums, things of that nature. We have TNA sales stuff to talk about. We have WWE Smackdown Live last night to talk about. But first, we're going to talk about DraftBeast.com. Yeah, I don't care what's going on in my life. I am not too busy to take your money. DraftBeast.com is the place where you want me to take your money. Go to DraftBeast.com for the most fun you will have in daily fantasy sports. Their goon games are my favorite. You pick the most penalized players. Fontez Perfect is back this week. If you don't have him, that's a problem. Lots of fun there. Also on it, use the supplements that guys like Cesaro, Sheamus, Roman Reigns, Bayley, Triple H, Adam Cole, CM Punk, and his opponent Mickey Gall, they all use. I use it to help me work 60 to 70-hour weeks here at Fightful.com. I love what I do, and the likes of Shroom Tech, Alpha Brain, and New Mood really help me out. So go to our podcast page at Fightful.com/podcast, soon to be updated, mind you. And open up any of our podcast pages, click that blue on it link, and support the Fightful podcast. I am joined by Jeff Hawkins of Shake Them Ropes. Jeff, how you doing?
I've been staring at this camera for 17 hours waiting for the show. Oh my God. No, happy that Burfeck's back this week. That's what I'm happy about.
I am too.
Oh, and congratulations are in order, Mr. Verified by Twitter.
I did get verified by Twitter.
How did that ever happen?
I don't know. And Rob asked me if I submitted for it, and I was like, well, if I knew I could submit for it, I would have done that a long time ago.
See, now Rob wants to be verified out of professional jealousy. No, I can't have this. I cannot have him trying to be verified.
I don't buy
if
that.
He eats a hat, he gets verified. That's the deal. I'll go with that.
He would. He absolutely would. Like he would get like a sponsored verification.
Yeah.
Like Lids would sponsor his. They would go to bat for him.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I joined the likes of some of my famous followers like Pac-Man Jones and P. Diddy being followed. Also, Showdown Joe, Vince Russo, Matt Riddle, some of our other verified members of Fightful.com. We got a lot of stuff going on right now, Jeff. This TNA thing.
Oh, do we actually have movement on that, or is that just chatter?
Kind of. So, for Bound for Glory week, I schedule a lot of interviews. TNA wrestlers are real good about giving people interviews and things like that. Mm-hmm. And you can pretty much guess who I was going to interview, the people, but there were like 4 or 5 of them.
Right.
People that, I'm friends with, people that I've never interviewed before. There were a lot of them. And every single one of them had to back out. Oh,
that is interesting.
I'll say 3, and one of them hasn't.
Okay.
Had gotten back to me, but it's past my scheduled time to have interviewed them. So, but 3 of them did have the courtesy of letting me know, and I got the same. The big one told me, "Listen, I'm not that up on what's going on right now, and I don't want to ignore the issues because I think that's disrespectful to everybody who reads it." I respect that an awful lot. Man, the talent is kept very much in the dark about this.
Oh, yeah,
now,
and
this TNA situation.
They've been jerked around for years almost on a lot of things, so I would expect them to be in the dark until it actually happens. What interests me in terms of for right now, the chatter is how everybody needs to kind of slow their roll on the value of this video library, because we're in a post-DVD streaming market. All right, sure, there's some tape of guys like Samoa Joe and AJ and things like that the WWE, should they win a bid of some kind, get. But in terms of their overall product and value, I think they're just more interested in having something like a trophy than actual value of a video department, because DVD sales aren't what they were. And for the most part, they've always just kind of wanted to be in control of the history of wrestling. I don't view that. I don't view this as something that they'd overspend for, because it's going to eventually come back to them.
They want Dixie Carter's taxidermied head on their wall.
Oh yeah,
that's what they want.
Right next to Vern Gagne and Jim Crockett Jr. Yeah.
TNA has some talent that would be of great help to WWE. I mean, they're guys that, Abyss way past his prime. That's a guy they wanted 10 years ago. Probably not going to do anything now. There are some people I could see them like, the Hardy Boys, EC3. There are a couple guys maybe for a cruiserweight division that would be used here and there. But a lot of the talent are guys that WWE wouldn't touch, whether they were available or not. Like a lot of them. Yeah.
And some have actually, been outcasts of WWE by now and haven't rebuilt their brand to the point where they'd be interesting. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd be more interested in seeing most of them go to NXT just to fulfill that and have a Battle of Orlando and up the touring brand a little bit more, some of the more name guys, but I don't.
You could extend NXT to 90 minutes if TNA's talent gets brought over.
I don't want guys losing jobs, but it might be time for TNA to go away. It really might.
The thing that I said to an employee, I'm going to make sure I get the text right. I said, in regards to Dixie Carter, at what point do you swallow your pride and avoid other people losing their jobs, more people losing their jobs? And they replied, no shit.
Okay.
No shit. So that's the general consensus among TNA talents. Another talent told me that there are like so many different entities at play with different motives.
I believe that.
And that's both inside and outside the company, I was told, because when I asked them to elaborate on it, they said, well, from the outside, you got people who want to buy it maybe for a library, maybe for a time slot, maybe to keep it going, maybe to just sit on it. And then you have people in the company who have different motives. Billy Corgan wants it to thrive.
Yeah.
Dixie Carter wants to save face. But the irony of this is, and it shows you how colorblind to the situation that she is losing face. She's been losing face. She would have saved more face if she sold to Toby Keith and Jeff Jarrett 2 years ago.
Yes.
Because if it would have thrived, then she would have made some money. If it would have failed, then it would have been on the shoulders of Jeff Jarrett and Toby Keith.
Totally agree.
It's a really weird situation. And also a quote I was given, 95% of the people backstage, from the cameramen to the wrestlers, want Billy Corgan in charge, for better or for worse. Now, I'm not that up on how Resistance Pro went. I didn't follow Resistance Pro. Like, I don't know. I mean, I just wasn't a follower of Resistance Pro. It wasn't what I was covering at the time. But I know it didn't work out for Billy. I wonder if it would work out any different now. And he said as much today, publicly. He said, I don't want to keep putting money into this if we are in the same situation in 3 months, Jeff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see why staff would be excited, because it would be a totally new philosophy, I think. I think a totally new dynamic. I think Corgan's positives are his creativity. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sure as a businessman on the day-to-day stuff how he'd do, but there's also a danger here for those guys backstage who are saying how much they want the new guy in charge. It may mean they're not part of the new reimagining of the product. And that's going to be the danger, is what percentage of carryover does he have in terms of people who are advising him, people who are on, say, creative aspects of the staff, how much of that he keeps, et cetera. Because if you're putting a new general in charge of the same army, sometimes you get better results. Sometimes you're going to get the same results.
Yeah, it's a touchy situation, because from what Billy Corgan said on Sirius XM, he doesn't know if Bound for Glory is going to happen this Sunday. And that is way different from what the talent have been told. The talent, that's the one thing that I was told that they weren't kept in the dark about, was Bound for Glory. They were told it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. Mainly probably so they can make sure the talent will actually show up on Sunday.
Yeah.
But Billy Corgan just went out there and said, if it happens and I am in that ring, it's going to be a crazy night. If he's out in that ring. Well, that's not what talent's being told.
It might open with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan in the ring.
It could. And, I'm always one that says, don't work the boys. Maybe this is a situation where you kind of have to, because you can't put all your cards on the table. Because here's the thing, Jeff. If talent's talking to me, I know they're talking to other people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're talking to lots of people. They're talking to other talents. They're talking to people in other promotions. They may be talking to people at the head of other promotions. So, do you think Bound for Glory is happening this Sunday?
Yes.
I do too. I don't know what will happen after that, though. Billy Corgan said that he has stepped in at the last minute for the last 3 television tapings. And the ink was drying as they went out to the ring. Like, at what point do you just say no more? At what point do you sell to somebody else?
Like you said, it should have been done 2 interest groups ago.
Because there were rumors, and Vince Russo has said that he didn't hear this, but all respect to Vince Russo, if anything involving Spike, he probably wouldn't have heard about because they didn't want them working together. But there were rumors a couple of years ago that Spike offered to buy a portion of the company, which would have kept them on TV at the very least.
Well, let me go with this. The brand TNA is so damaged that even a name change to me would not be enough. You would have to overhaul this roster to the point that guys are losing jobs. You'd have to revamp this entire presentation in some way. There is a lot more work to be done than just an ownership group, and it may not be worth the effort for the new owners of the company.
Corgan very much does want to change the name of that company, and Jesus, that's another thing that should have been done a long time ago. I remember when Fightful's own Vince Russo came out and did a promo in like 2003 and said one of the reasons that he pitched that name was so it would be called Tits and Ass Wrestling. And that was in a promo. Maybe a very little truth to it. Maybe just a coincidence. But
I will not speak ill of your fellow co-host here on the Great Fightful Network.
He'll let you have it. He'll let you have it.
I know he will. Okay. I know he will. That's one of the reasons I don't want to.
This situation is, and the Billy Corgan thing. We have a full report on Billy Corgan and what he said on Busted Open Radio coming from John Morehouse as we speak. He's working on it. It's just like, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault. He's trying so hard to save something that was put in this situation because Dixie Carter is not good at running a wrestling company. And maybe he's not good at running a wrestling company either. I don't know. But this all really started to go downhill. Not with Vince Russo, as you know, and I'd love to poke fun at Vince Russo, but it's not Vince. They gave a lot of money to
Bischoff
a lot
and
of
Hogan. Bischoff and Hogan to me is when the real death knell started, and then I watched it for a while. I had come back to the fold to see what they were going to do because it looked like they were making some improvements, and then Aces and Eights happened, and then that just became preposterous at some point, and I just said, I can't watch this anymore. But give me a Gail Kim Horsewomen feud. I'll take that every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, that's another person. Like, well, I don't know what kind of term she's on with WWE,
right?
Because at one point she rolled under the ring and
the battle royal left. Left.
But Maria and Mike Bennett, maybe them. Gail Kim would be of interest. Maybe a Cherry Bomb. Probably everybody with Hardy in their name, including Maxwell. There are a few people, but like I don't see like Marty Bell, Grado. I don't see people like that. Definitely the Tribunal. They ain't coming back to WWE.
No,
they were lucky that they got picked up by TNA. Like, and even then, I was like, why them? Why them?
Bobby Lashley, maybe.
Sure, Lashley, if he's interested, because he and WWE weren't always on the best of terms either. I could see them grabbing like maybe a Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett, somebody like that, just either for NXT or maybe it's like a one-time cruiserweight appearance type of thing. They do have some assets, but they are so far in the hole. And it's like, what are you buying TNA for? I get it. The time slot. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Sinclair wants the time slot, but I'm like, God, if you guys try hard, if you just let them close down and you try hard enough, you could probably get it on your own. Like, it's not worth the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You know what I mean?
Nice. Nice cliche. I love it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Ring of Honor got on Destination America themselves, and it was a very short relationship, but it's one that they have went on record saying we don't regret that at all. It helped us out quite a bit. That was
if those two companies could find a way to merge, that would make me happy, because then you'd have kind of a viable second one. Unfortunately, you wouldn't have anybody really running it who could run it like the cutthroat business it is. But you know what? That would be my optimum.
I think 90% of the talent gets laid off if that happens.
That's probably true.
Because there are very few people like I don't know, like there's so much just the John Gaborik's hirings, you know, and I get mixed. You're going to have mixed reactions based on anybody in talent relations. You are, because half the people are going to like him, half the people aren't, and everybody who got their job from him is going to like him. But he hires a lot of the people that do the same things. Yeah. That look the same way, that wrestle the same way, that have the same kind of personalities. You know, guys like Eli Drake have broken out, and I think he's very, very, very entertaining. But you've got so many guys who just do the same exact things. But Corgan has been making a play for full ownership, and he's not looking for other people to chip in. He's doing it. Which the thing is, it's like if he did look for other people to chip in, I can't imagine it would be that hard. I'm sure there's some weird psycho Smashing Pumpkins fan out there that happens to be like an eccentric, wealthy man that might be like, here's some money. Well, you kind of went through that with Smoky Mountain with Rick Rubin doing that. But for me, I mean, the guys who would approach Billy. He's working with Rick Rubin, isn't he? I think so. Right now, I think he's working on a new album with Rick Rubin. Get Rick Rubin involved. There you go. He lost so much money on Smoky Mountain. I don't think he'd ever do that again. But I think all the people who would approach Billy at this point would be your usual suspects in the wrestling world, and I don't think he wants that. He doesn't want people nipping at his heels about that. Fun fact. About 12 years ago, it's 2002. I can't remember. It was early to mid-2000s. There was a father of a friend that I had who knew that I loved wrestling. I didn't know, I didn't know what I know now, obviously, but he was like, I heard that TNA wrestling is for sale. And I was like, I don't know anything about that. I just remember him specifically saying that. And he's like, maybe I could look into it. A very wealthy guy. Instead, he invested into a bowling alley, and he has made substantially more money than TNA has since then. Well, Thursday Night Rockin' Bowl, those beer sales. Yeah. I always remember that, and I'm like, I remember thinking back to that guy, and I was like, a bowling alley was a better investment than a property that would go on to have Sting, Hulk Hogan, all these big names working for them. It's really weird. But yeah, this Billy Corgan thing, this TNA thing, it's a very weird situation, and I fear for the people that are in TNA. There's some I don't fear for. I don't fear for Matt Hardy and EC3. I don't fear for those guys because they're going to land on their feet. They're going to find jobs. They're going to find good jobs. They might find higher paying jobs. So I'm not worried about them. But there are some people in that company, and we won't name names, but you can run up and down the roster and take a look at them. I fear for them. I fear for the cameramen. I fear for the few people that work in production. I fear for, a lot of people. So, well, that's that, you guys. We did have Smackdown last night.
Yes.
That's a thing. And I'm actually being messaged by someone from TNA right now. So if I hear anything about this while we're on the air, I will update you all. Smackdown Live last night. Man, I love The Miz, Jeff.
He was fantastic last night. He was.
Per usual.
Well, this was a different level because everything seemed to come together here. His presence, his promo, that video package that they ran on him, what he was saying and the storyline, everything, kind of congealed together perfectly for him in this angle. And I'm not going to shade Dolph Ziggler either. I think Dolph was fantastic in this promo with The Miz. In fact, I think, what we know, these guys watch other companies' promos when they get some juice on them. I think he may have been glomming a little bit from the Christopher Daniels ROH promo in some way.
Yeah.
I got that kind of vibe from it. Not really stealing, but an homage, so to speak. But no, The Miz here, fantastic performance, especially when he heard him putting the career on the line, and it's just like that kind of Weasley, oh, what did you say type of thing. It was so great. He was the superstar on this show, to the point where I'm worried Raw will be stealing him sooner than later to get this personality back.
Well, he's brought the best out of Dolph Ziggler as well.
Oh, yeah.
Dolph Ziggler, I thought, was very good, too. I love that they brought in the family. You don't see that a lot as much these days, so him using it was really great. I thought Maurice standing in between, because normally, if you bring up my family in public, I'm going to beat the living shit out of you. And that's what Dolph Ziggler should have done, but he didn't want to go through Maurice to do it. So I like that she knew to get right in between Miz and Dolph Ziggler, because I'm not going to beat up a woman in order to get to this person. So that was good too. The video highlight was really good. And the career versus title thing. Interesting direction here.
Yeah, what's funny to me? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I love that The Miz quantified it with, okay, this isn't one of those 30-day deals where you're going to NXT or you come back in a mask or something, which was something he did when he put his career on the line. Remember when he came back as Mr. Canada something?
The Calgary Kid.
Calgary Kid, that was it. For me, what stood out here is this may be the first promo of its kind from Dolph where I actually felt like he was feeling the emotions he was portraying on the screen.
His voice broke.
Rather than just like yelling stuff really loud or something to that effect. I was really, he felt something, his voice broke. It was a phenomenal acting job by both of them.
I really liked it. I like the career versus title thing. If you do career versus title, you could put it in I'm not ruling out that Ziggler could lose this match, because you can always do a trade. You can always do a free agent signing. You can always do something like that. But generally how these work is, the other person wins. Now, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. What happens if Miz gets DQ'd? Or Ziggler wins via DQ?
Then it becomes kind of like that. Jeez, like
exactly how I think WWE would book something like this.
Well, it becomes the best of 7 series. Oh, well, we'll solve it on the next episode and see what happens. Maybe they get put in a tag team together then against the champs, like Sheamus and Cesaro. Yeah.
I was over the moon about this segment. I really liked it.
I did too. I thought it stole the show, to be honest with you, and I think it was supposed to.
Right place for it too in Cleveland. Perfect place for it.
Exactly.
I love backstage The Miz.
Yes.
Having his picture put like right next to LeBron James. Fantastic. Great stuff.
And you know what? The actual, Miz lived so long on the cheap sports heat promo that him dropping that LeBron James being a traitor fits so well compared to him. That was good usage of the cheap heat from sports. Especially since they're both Cleveland guys.
Guys, if this is your first time checking out the Fightful podcast or not, and you just don't visit the site, go over to Fightful.com, register for a free account. You'll never have to pay a dime, never have to enter credit card information. When you register for Fightful.com, you get access to our soon-to-be overhauled forums, columns from Showdown Joe and Vince Russo, 4 or 5 of them a week from those guys combined. Podcasts, early access to podcasts from Matt Riddle, which we do Thursday afternoon. Former UFC star, now wrestles for Evolve, had some WWE interest, as well as Vince Russo on Friday afternoons. What we do is we go live with those, then we put those up on Fightful.com exclusively for members of Fightful.com for the first several days. So Fightful.com and registering is the way to get those. You also get exclusive backstage news. I had the reports of the stuff that I mentioned about TNA up a couple days ago, exclusively for members. Also, if you just visit Fightful.com, you'll have dozens of updates every day, whether you're registered or not. Tons of news updates from the worlds of MMA, pro wrestling, and boxing. We have more live viewing parties than anybody else in the world. I'm talking everything on Fight Pass, Rise and UFC, Bellator, WWE, TNA, hopefully, Ring of Honor. Everything you can think of, we have. We're covering Ring of Honor All-Star Extravaganza Friday, TNA Bound for Glory, hopefully Sunday. You get Brandon Howard's financial analysis, the monthly Wikipedia True or False segment. We've had exclusive interviews with Cyborg, Chael Sonnen, CM Punk, Daniel Cormier, Muhammad Hassan, EC3, former UFC heavyweight champion Josh Barnett, and, of course, 5 to 7 podcasts a week. Alex Palowski's reaction articles, the most entertaining recaps you will ever read are from Alex Palowski, my friends. Go visit Fightful.com. Bookmark that stuff. Share it in Facebook groups, Reddit, Twitter. All that stuff really helps. It really contributes to our success. We want to make this your kind of site. So let us know what you like and what you don't like. I know that I like Heath Slater. And I'm okay with him losing here.
No, he's perfectly fine losing here because he's a geek. It gives the...
Let me preface this. Sorry. American Alpha, Heath Slater, and Rhino against the Usos and the Ascension.
Right.
Slater ate the pin.
Slater ate the pin. He ate the pin how he was supposed to in terms of getting his knee hurt, much like Chad Gable did. I'm worried American Alpha are just becoming guys on the roster.
I hate it. They should be special.
Yeah, I agree there. I was intrigued by the choice of the Ascension. Not that the Ascension don't need a win here and there, because God knows they do, but I thought this was kind of a missed opportunity if they had teamed the
Breezango.
the Vaudevillains.
Why not Breezango?
The Vaudevillains.
Why not Breezango?
Because,
why the Vaudevillains? They're dead.
Yeah, they're dead, but they have that kind of vicious style on this main roster that would do well for a win with the guys like the Usos, who are also kind of doing that revival-esque old school work on a body part and make a guy tap type of gimmick. I thought that may have been a misstep, but you know what? Watching the Ascension celebrate when I never thought they'd get a win this year, fascinating stuff. And I think the Slater story is still very, very intriguing.
Somebody on the board asks, is Billy Corgan working with Rocky Mountain Pro because he knows TNA is dead and he's trying to get jobs for people? That will not replace full-time income. Also, these TNA people, like a lot of times with their contracts, they have to book them through TNA. But I mean, it's not like, Rocky Mountain Pro wasn't sending anybody to TNA. So it's not like that. It's just her Marty Bell's individual booking with Rocky Mountain Pro that she's doing. We also started off the show. Oh, God damn. I hate this Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's
so trash.
It's cornball. It's not just cornball. It's bad. It's poorly shot. It's trying to glom a bit off of the TNA Matt Hardy stuff, I think, in some ways.
But it's not so. It's not like the type where it looks like intentionally bad, though.
Right.
It just looks like they suck at producing it.
Well, it's their motivations, like just the simple thing of in horror movies switching. They go against the grain there and switch the camera angle to somebody else's point of view. Well, wait, you're just like that. Just takes you out of the whole thing. But still, who's scared of Eric Rowan anymore? Just because he's big, and can't put one foot in front of the other in terms of a match, in terms of guys beating him all the time. So why are you scared of a guy you can beat on? He needs to
be scared of Abyss. Abyss might be taking his role.
The killer in the house type of trope that they did with Orton showing up there. Bray Wyatt's still talking loud, ain't saying nothing. And, he's an interesting character, but they never follow up on it. It's just a one-note type of thing. And Randy Orton's not the most dynamic babyface in the world in terms of both promos nor being sympathetic as a babyface. So,
just want to throw this in there. I wish they would hire Jason Kincaid and put him in the Wyatt family. That man is incredible.
Ooh, that'd be, yeah.
He's great.
Mm-hmm.
He's so good. What else did we have? Yeah, this Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt stuff, it's just trash.
Mm-hmm.
It is garbage. It's horrible. I'm done with it. I was done with it the last time they feuded. You know what? Maybe they never feuded. I'm pretty sure they did. But even if they didn't, I was over it. I didn't want it. These two could be doing much different, much better things. I'm so over it.
Okay.
So over it, because this show every week would just be even better than it is if this shit wasn't shoveled in our face.
Well, let's move on to happier things then, Sean.
Let's move on to happier things. I think Carmella's been pretty badass since this heel turn.
I agree. She has all the, look, her wrestling is getting incrementally better, but her poise as a heel is really, really good. Now her promos still need work. Because because they've been telling her to go to her catchphrase. And that's a recipe for disaster. But she has that kind of bitchy Ms. Thang thing going, for lack of a better term. I'm sorry. Where did that come from? Never mind, Hawkins. Just continue as if you have a good point. I'm interested in this winning streak against Nikki too. It's actually become very, very interesting for me watching her outsmart Nikki week after week after week. I think that part is really good for Carmella here as well.
I always think that's a storyline they could go to if they really, really play it up, that like somebody like Nikki Bella beats every single person except for like just somebody like Carmella.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a good thing. Eddie Guerrero, like he could beat anybody in the world, but he couldn't beat Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, it's kind of like an MMA, like in the old school MMA thing. You could beat any fighter in your division except that one guy who's really good at wrestling, who would always just pin you down and like dry hump you for 3 rounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, Carmella and Natalya got the win here. I'm digging it. I'm digging the Carmella stuff. I think it's good. They've committed to it. I'm fine with it. I think that here we are again. Like I said, we were talking about how thin that division was, but the difference is they've applied to this division.
Yeah.
I'm ready to watch Alexa Bliss against Becky Lynch as well. I want to see that.
Yeah. One more note on this. As bad as Carmella's promos have been, Natty is still an all-time worst promo. She's
terrible.
So bad. Let her
terrible.
talk naturally, please.
Speaking of talking naturally, did you watch Talking Smack?
I did. And I was interested to talk about it eventually.
Becky Lynch, what did you think about that?
I thought, you know what, other than a couple of times where she did have to go to her quote-unquote catchphrase, which was a bit cornball, this is great. She's really, really good on the fly and doing this kind of improv stuff and just being when she's she was
talking up a fight.
She was required to be real and talk up a fight. I mean, that's all she had to do, and that's all wrestling for me in terms of my old school love should be. So I loved this. Just continuing on Talking Smack, unless you want to hold off until the main event, we can do that. In terms of the Cena promo, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Well, let's hold off on that until we get to the main event.
But I did like Becky Lynch on Talking Smack. She is a real proponent of maybe change the way that you do things.
I liked the beatdown Alexa gave her during the entrance. I liked that, with the exception of I think she should have taken the belt with her. Because that's an old school heat move, to just take the belt and declare yourself the champion because you have the belt. I like that move, especially for this burgeoning division. And it hasn't been done in a very, very long time in terms of actually owning that you really think you're the champion because you have this title.
And I'm looking forward to those two matches, and they'll probably add like Naomi versus Natalya on the pre-show or something of that nature just to do it. Sure, why not? Because those two, that's another good thing they've done. They have had 2 central programs, but they have kept Naomi and Natalya very involved in this. Yeah, so they're not just just off the show. They're still involved.
And it's kind of new person with veteran, new person with veteran, new person with veteran if you do Naomi and then Natty as well. Because Naomi just kind of coming back from injury and whatnot, you know, kind of needing the fresh start is how I justify that as her being new.
Sure. But, yeah, I really liked it. Not TNA, Smackdown. Well, TNA too. TNA can be a more digestible show. We use that word a lot, but
right.
Then you go 2 hours. The difference between what I would normally call a decent, mediocre show, hours versus 3 hours, man. Not only that, here's the thing: SmackDown Live is really 2.5 hours because you gotta watch Talking Smack.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best show that the WWE does week in and week out.
Definitely. Without a doubt. What else did we have on this show? The Orton thing. We're not talking about that. That was terrible. AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose, world title. John Cena at ringside. I really, really liked the Dean Ambrose promo last week on Talking Smack. That was the edge. The edge. That is the Dean Ambrose that people wanted and expected coming out of the Shield, but it is not what they got. He called John Cena a part-timer and trashed him for doing like Nickelodeon award shows and flying on jets and riding in his own van and not dressing with people. Cena kind of let him have it. He said, "You're right. I don't dress in the same place. I don't ride in the same stuff because I'm taking care of my body so I can do this other stuff." And he says he's not leaving WWE. He wants to do it all at once, and said that it's not that he doesn't like Dean Ambrose. He doesn't care about Dean Ambrose. This show is just, line. Yeah. This show is so must watch.
It is. It's very interesting. They're towing a line of danger, though, for me in these promos. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoy them. I enjoy the quote-unquote shooty style of them. I enjoy that they actually feel like they're building fights at the same time. But there is an underlying disturbing trend for me in these promos, and it's something that ends up dragging down Raw a lot. All these promos, be they face or heel, are all intertwined with the company politics of WWE. And especially on this Cena promo, it became clear to me that the company is both, quote-unquote, the main babyface and the main heel here. It's not that John Cena wants to be champ for his own legacy and to have the money and the star and to be the champion. It's so that he curries favor with the front office so that he can continue to do these things that plugs WWE projects. He's a guy who loves the company when the company on the other show is a heel, which is a problem to me. When Dean Ambrose is talking about these, he's a part-timer who goes on Nickelodeon. That's branding stuff. That's advertising stuff. I don't want in a wrestling show, in a pure, quote unquote, pure wrestling show, I don't want to hear about this crap. That's the stuff that interests people at a board meeting. That's not the thing that interests me of something you're fighting over. Money, yes. Exposure on various television properties, not so much. You know what I'm saying here?
Sure. Okay. And it doesn't help that these are better than the promos that are written for them as well.
I agree. And yeah, they are. And those are all more cynical marketing, branding, buzzword type things to make the company, everybody, the main angle on Raw right now is who do Hunter and Stephanie like best? Who do the company like best? And I don't want a feud over a title to be about who do the bosses who run the company like better as a champion to be a quote-unquote face of the division. And even the women's title is about that now. The face of the division.
You had Conor McGregor in peak form at a press conference earlier in that day.
Showing how it's done.
Showing everybody how it's done.
Just be a jerk. And
I'll be talking about that with Showdown Joe later tonight, guys. Big show coming from myself and Showdown Joe. We're talking UFC 205. We're talking this weekend's Portland show. We're going to talk about Cyborg a little bit. We're going to talk about his experience at Ryzen. Our own Showdown Joe did color comment or play-by-play rather with Heath Herring at Ryzen.
Nice.
Can you believe, just to throw a little MMA in here, this company made Charles Bennett Crazy Horse relevant again in one weekend. One weekend.
Let me put it this way: Crazy Horse. I have nothing but love for Crazy Horse. He is such a loose cannon. It's like him and Shoney Carter. If you told me Shoney Carter was coming back, I'd be all over that. And I have you know what, Heath Herring. I always had a man. That dude for me. His entrances with the dusters and stuff are always must watch. So good on Joe for getting the gig with him. Yeah. Oh, Charlie Horse having a throwdown with old Vanderlei, huh? Jeez.
And Showdown Joe was there. He was at the front desk when it happened. So I can't wait to hear his side of things. Raw's rating this week, it was low.
Expected though. I mean,
it was low. But I'll say this: we found out that about 70% of the Raw audience doesn't give a shit about America.
They don't give a shit about other pro wrestling when pro wrestling is on. I mean, because that's all that debate really was. Oh, before you move off of MMA, this Ryback Bellator story.
You want to talk about that? Let's talk about that.
That's a disaster waiting to happen. This is a guy who has bought into his own phony tough guy gimmick. Don't get me wrong. I don't know what kind of fighting experience he has, but he looks like just a muscle guy.
I had a guy that said he'll have no problem making heavyweight, and I was like, he might not want to make heavyweight. He might want to fight at super heavyweight because at super heavyweight he might beat a guy.
Yeah,
based on pure athleticism, he might beat a guy because. You guys have heard me talk about this before. The level of talent above 265 pounds and really above 250 pounds in MMA is a duty because, to be honest with you guys, big guys like that can't fight very well. And if they can't fight very well for very long. I'm grouping him in with that.
Is Ron Waterman available?
I threw that name out there.
I remember watching him on one of these King of the Cage specials when what became Access. There used to be these two channels like that, and they'd show like old UFC pay-per-views and King of the Cage where Waterman was on the same special as like Forrest Griffin. I think Diego Sanchez was in the tournament or something like that. I just go, oh God.
I remember Waterman because you find all these great dark matches from 2001, 2002, and it's got Randy Orton and Shelton Benjamin and John Cena, Batista, and then it's like Rico and Ron Waterman are just thrown in there somehow in a lot of these.
Remember Waterman, I think, got head and arm triangled by a smaller guy or something like that. I just went, there you go. But yeah, no, I mean, super heavyweight, sure. Yeah.
Jose Aldo says he's going to, once his UFC release, because they booked Alvarez versus McGregor. What do you think about that?
Whining. That is just garbage. Look, you got knocked the F out by the guy in like 20-some seconds. You have to rebuild that brand. One fight with Frankie Edgar, who also had an axe to grind before that fight in terms of getting passed over for title shots. You don't hear Frankie Edgar wanting to get let go. Okay? He's a man. He knows he has to rebuild his resume. And also, plug your fights more. Talk a little more smack. Buy into the game of selling fights a bit more, and maybe they'll put you on there because Eddie Alvarez gets it. Conor McGregor gets it. Aldo doesn't.
There is nothing left for McGregor at 145. He knocked out the interim champion in 13 seconds. Number 2 is Frankie Edgar coming off of a loss. Number 3, Max Holloway. McGregor beat him with a torn ACL. Ricardo Lamas, number 4, coming off of a loss. Number 5 is Cub Swanson, who is 2-2 in his last 4. Number 6 is Anthony Pettis, who washed out of the 155-pound division. Mm-hmm. And the names below that, no disrespect. Well, he just beat Jeremy Stevens.
Yeah,
it didn't happen. It didn't have to happen in a cage, but he beat Jeremy Stevens. Jeremy Stevens at the press conference said, he pointed at McGregor and said, "This guy TKOs people. When I knock people out, they don't move." And McGregor waited a few seconds and says, pardon my French, but he says, "Who the fuck is that guy?"
Yeah, and I had a point. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, no, Nate Diaz had the perfect comeback on Twitter. Just let me know when Dana gets off of Conor's nuts. or vice versa. I mean, which one? It's like, yeah, okay. Nate gets it too, because Nate's probably gonna get millions for the rubber match. So,
yep, and he is content to sit there and wait. This UFC 205 card, we'll talk about it briefly. Now, we have said this on many occasions. Most stacked card in UFC history.
It's gonna fall apart. Don't get.
Well, the good thing is, if it falls apart, it's still going to be up there.
Yeah.
This could be split into 3 pay-per-views and be 3 good pay-per-views.
I agree.
It's going to be really good. The return of Liz Carmouche. I'm excited about that. That's under the radar.
Are you really?
I haven't seen her.
I like her a lot. I love Liz Carmouche. I do. I thought that first fight against Ronda just made me a fan for life. So yeah, and especially the builds for it. So yeah, no, it's great. But she's being brought in to be fed to someone.
Yeah, the girl that she's facing, who I just realized I'm Facebook friends with this girl. Didn't know that.
Nice.
That's weird. Yeah, I didn't realize who she was booked against. Yeah, a very, very good opponent, but Liz Carmouche has fought once in the last 2 years. You also have former Bellator champion Lyman Good against Titan veteran Bilal Muhammad, Jim Miller, Thiago Alves. Thiago Alves is a guy who was, didn't he? Yeah, he was in a title fight at UFC 100.
Mm-hmm.
So that's already 2 former title challengers and a Bellator champion in fights that nobody's talking about.
Right.
Tim Boetsch, who is the definition of the word man. If Silas Young were an MMA fighter, he would be Tim Boetsch. He won a fight via European uppercuts. For the love of God.
I will never talk bad about Tim Boetsch after the Japanese guy he came back against at the I can't remember. Yushin Okami.
European uppercuts.
Yeah.
He held him up against the cage with his left arm and then just went underneath repeatedly.
That may be my favorite MMA performance of all time.
It's great. I'll never say anything bad about him because I remember I think he broke his hand or something like that against Costa Philippou.
Yes. At
UFC 155. And between the rounds, he said, I think I broke my hand. I think it was that. And his corner goes, do you want to quit? And like he responded immediately in like disbelief. And he goes, fuck no. Like, I can't believe you think that would be an option. So then the card really picks up. Former champion Miesha Tate against Raquel Pennington, Raquel Pennington, if there were a couple of different judges in her fights, she would be 7-0 in the UFC right now.
Yeah.
Because Holly Holm split decision, Jessica Andrade split decision. That's a big one. Tim Kennedy returns to take on Rashad Evans. Rashad Evans, former champion, moves down to 185. Frankie Edgar, another former champion, against Jeremy Stevens. Jeremy Stevens just slaughtered Renan Barão in his last fight. Cool with that.
Yeah, I like that. I think Edgar's going to dance around him for 3 rounds after the initial onslaught and just batter him, but that's me.
Perhaps. Khabib Nurmagomedov against Michael Johnson.
Yeah.
Nurmagomedov should have had a title shot a long time ago, but he got hurt repeatedly. Michael Johnson, he does what he does.
He's on the rise. I mean, he's one of those guys where if he'll have those lapses where he'll lose a fight he shouldn't, and then he'll go on like a 3-fight win streak. It's very weird. I like him a lot though from Ultimate Fighter, but I think Khabib's gonna kill him.
Cerrone versus Gastelum. Chris Weidman, former champion, against Yoel Romero.
Sure.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk defends against Carolina. That's going to be a banger. Joanna.
Ain't nobody being Joanna. I'm sorry. I watched that her last fight live in Vegas. She's a beast.
She was a star at that presser too.
Oh yeah.
Big star. Tyron Woodley defends the welterweight title against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and Eddie Alvarez defends the lightweight championship against featherweight champion Conor McGregor. Damn.
Yeah, that co-main is really the only one where you just kind of go, yeah, it's a title fight. It's like having a Demetrius Johnson. It's like having a Demetrius Johnson fight.
Oh, come on. I love Demetrius Johnson.
Oh, I do too, but I mean, in terms of the general fan base, in terms of their excitement for a Demetrius Johnson fight, they just kind of go, eh. But he's
bunch of fools, maybe.
Oh, I agree. He's so great, though. He's so transcendent that for me, he's must watch. For some of my friends, it's like, oh, he's just going to beat the guy. So
also born in Kentucky. Here's a good one. Chris Cyborg just cracked the UFC pound for pound rankings. She can't be ranked anywhere else, but she cracked the UFC pound for pound rankings. That's a first.
keep calling out Ronda. Keep calling out Ronda. Keep calling out Ronda. That's all she's going to do.
Yep. Indeed, guys. Fightful.com, it's the place to be. Visit, register. I've run down the list of features that we have and exclusive interviews, and we have one with former NFL star Ray Edwards, now a pro boxer, coming up soon. Elijah Burke, the Pope.
Yes. Love the
this
Pope.
Week's Wikipedia, true or false.
Best TNA entrance music ever.
Yeah, wish he was still wrestling. Jeff, tell them about Shake Dem Ropes.
Well, I'm going to be recording it in about 10 minutes after I get off with you here. Rob and I are going to go over Clash of Champions, Raw, Smackdown.
Who?
You know, that guy is supposed to eat his hat and it's not verified.
Voldemort?
Yeah. And our top 100 match to see before you die is from one of the best years of wrestling ever, 1989, from Chi-Town Rumble. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Ric Flair for the World Heavyweight title. It is a magnificent match. I cannot wait to talk about it. If you want to follow the show, you can follow Rob's account at Shake Them Ropes, all one word. If you want to follow me, at CrapGame13. I want to leave you with one last WWE question here because it's been percolating in my mind all day, and I'm going to hit up Rob with the same thing. One of my hot takes this week was stolen by about 4 other podcasts, 3 of which didn't attribute to me. So, and it was about Raw being a show about a wrestling show, while SmackDown is more of a straight wrestling show, and how we kind of enjoy it in terms of the politics, the office politics, the general manager, all the authority figures are not as heavy on SmackDown. Is there a possibility in your mind, Sean Ross Sapp, that they keep Shane and Daniel Bryan off SmackDown because they are so popular, so as not to overshadow the authority figures on Raw?
So you're saying perhaps a conspiracy political?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm not going to go that far, but just kind of a agreed upon philosophy amongst creative.
Perhaps. I wouldn't rule anything out, to be honest with you.
Because I can be very cynical at times, so I have to bounce these ideas off.
I wouldn't rule anything out. We've heard much weirder things. I mean, Vince McMahon had a self-fulfilling prophecy in regards to Rey Mysterio. So there are plenty of self-fulfilling prophecies that I'm sure that he would look to achieve. Guys, I am back later tonight with Showdown Joe. We're talking all kinds of MMA. All kinds of MMA.
Oh, I'm looking.
Join us at Fightful.com. That's the best place to be. You'll get early access to a lot of our podcasts that you don't get on Fightful until days after. So visit Fightful.com. Tell everybody. Go to birthday parties that you are not invited to. Interrupt them. And while in a big crowd, just plug Fightful.com. It's the place to be, guys. Until later tonight, we are out.
Bye.